Great. Great. Well, welcome to Board of Building Standards. Today is September 7th, 2023. We're going to identify ourselves and then we'll ask you each to identify yourselves and swear you in. My name is Ted August. I'm a member of the board and acting chairman today.
I'm Amy Rivera, board member.
John Dimes, Fire Code.
Ryan McSherry, Board Counsel.
Deborah Richardson, Boards Administration.
Philip Motto, Boards Administration.
Jay Scuria, Department of License and Inspections.
Thomas Rybakowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
Okay. Phil, you're going to name the case first and then swear them in?
Absolutely, sir. This is number 1 on today's list, MI 2023-004-934 for the property located at 503 Mercy Street. The appellant is Vincent Leonardo, and he is here in the room today.
Okay. Vince, can you state your name and sorry, go ahead, state your name.
Sure.
Please.
Vincent Leonardo. Is my audio okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And Charlotte, are you the large person or the small person? Yeah, you're on mute. Yeah, thanks.
My name's actually Christina Lopez. I'm the mom.
And in your case, we're asking, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank
Christina, can you spell your last name for the court reporter?
Yes, it's Lopaz.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, I guess, Vince, are you going to present the case? Or should we start with Tom? Sorry, we'll have Tom Rybakowski who will present the case for the city and then give you a chance to talk. Tom?
So, swear me in?
Yes. Tom, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So what I have is the property at 503 Mercy Street was declared unsafe following an inspection by the area inspector, Inspector D. Sabato, in reference to the front wall bulge. And I'll present my my packet to the board in that it's hard to show a bulge on a 2D or in photographs, but all intents and purposes, the front wall was declared unsafe by the department. We would be looking for a engineering report or a permit for the repair within the next 60 days. But I'll share my screen now to go over that packet. So this is the appeal that was filed with the department. It was filed August 15th of 2023. I believe it's in the file with the members of the board, but as a matter of record, the appeal was filed for no sufficient bulging / property not unsafe, making any alterations impractical and therefore a financial hardship and a burden on family life. The notice of violation was mailed out, and that prompted the appeal, which brings us to today's hearing. In the interest of time, I'll go right to the photos. As there is a letter that was attached, I'm humbly requesting to have the fee for making an appeal waived on the basis that it would be an unnecessary financial hardship on my family. And then it just it goes on to that filing. So that's a copy of the posting of the front of the property, 503 Mercy. And then this is a photograph of the front of the property. Like I said, it's very hard to show a bulge in the front of a masonry wall. But there is a bulge in the wall that was observed by the area inspector. In fact, the area inspector did speak to the occupants in the property at the time that the notice was posted at the property. Like I said, we would be looking for the permit for the repair or the engineering report illustrating that there is no unsafe condition within 60 days. With that, I'll rest for the time being.
Yeah, Vincent, do you want to kind of respond to that or have us clarify?
I just wanted to clarify that he did not speak with us the day of the violation. We were actually at home, and he provided the violation without even making us aware of it. Once I got the violation, I called him, and he wasn't in the office, so I had to call the next day, and then I just wanted to clarify that point. But yeah, I'm happy to. I prepared a statement. I'm happy to read that off if that's appropriate.
Yeah, you can certainly do it. I guess just, given, what you wrote in your appeal, I mean, this is something that we do need to have an engineer make the determination of whether it is or is not an unsafe condition. So are you prepared to engage an engineer and have them come out and do it? We can't just.
Well, my understanding is you guys need a preponderance of evidence to make this assessment.
No, I mean,
there's no proof that there is a bulge.
well,
No
I think
evidence.
we have to rely on the L&I inspector's determination. They're a trained professional. They're looking at it. At this point, it requires a structural engineer to look at it and either agree with them or disagree. If they disagree with them, they will that'll be acknowledged, and you will not need to get a permit. If they determine that it in fact is an unsafe condition, then they'll recommend what needs to be done to bring it in compliance, and you would need to get a permit in order to do that. So at this point, you've got sort of 60 days to get an engineer out.
Can I read my statement and then provide whatever proof I have that it's not? Yeah, okay. So safety is my chief concern, as this is our family home. That's why I took immediate action from violation date. I took a day off of work and had experts come to the property and look at the proposed violations. I had an engineer and a mason both come to the property, both concurred, no apparent unsafe structural issues. Subsequently, I tried to reason with the inspector, but he would not bulge because the violations were already erroneously opened a few days prior. This is why we are at this appeal. There is no evidence that the property is unsafe per violations. Therefore, any forced compliance is unnecessary and in fact burdensome, both financially and otherwise. As I present my case today, I plan on continuing to fight this injustice through all allowable channels and levels of the process.
You've already had an engineer come out. We need them to issue their report.
The problem with that is that's a financial hardship. It costs about $1,000 to get that. Is that something that the city would pay for, or am I responsible for that fee?
Who was the engineer that came out?
So Michael from Structural Engineering, Design and Construction came. I also had a mason come from.
Was that Michael Leonardo?
Yes.
He is not a structural engineer. He's a contractor. I've worked with him. He's not a structural engineer. He has no license.
Okay. I was on the impression he was an engineer, which that's fine. I still feel like there is no evidence that this is not unsafe. Whatever the inspector saw is an optical illusion. I have basically prepared photos that can point that out. I'm disappointed that the inspector isn't here today to even present his case. I feel like I'm not being fairly treated right now.
Go ahead, show your photos.
So, I feel like, really what they were looking at was the gap between the two properties here. And Anthony made an assumption that this property was straight. Do you guys see the photo here?
Yes.
So this is the property that's next to us. And as you can see, the bricks are not straight. They are put in, so that it can meet with the stucco from my property that, was standalone before construction in around 2018. So as you can see, primarily he keyed off of this, right here. And that's the optical illusion.
Do you have a photo of the bottom of the wall?
Sure. I actually, let me do that. Hold on.
One of the things that you look at is roughly at the top where you show the picture, it looks like your wall is 4 inches per out of the neighboring wall. And is it the same at the sidewalk level?
So here's the whole property.
Okay,
So like I indicated earlier, on first glance, I could see why one would fall for the optical illusion because of the bricks.
Mhm.
And as you can see, the bricks are worse over here. See how the bricks come in. And this is partly to do the fact that the stucco is not a straight surface. And we're not the developer of this property. They actually set the property back so that our stairs could be adjacent. So it's even more of an optical illusion.
Can you zoom in on the brick underneath your 2 first floor windows? It looks like there's been some patching done there. I'm
Right
just
over
trying to
here.
understand what the inspector may have seen.
I'm not sure either. I feel from talking with Anthony, he pointed this out initially. And then once I indicated that, he said, oh, well, the case is open and there's not much we could do. You can appeal.
Again, can you zoom in on the bricks below the 2 first floor windows?
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. You might be seeing chalk.
Okay,
We have kids, yeah.
okay, yeah, that does look like chalk. And then just pan to the right side. All right, so that gap does exist. Or that offset does exist near the bottom.
So this gap is because the developer, so this was a standalone property. So we bought it in 2015, standalone. And then a developer built a property here in 2018 against our property. And I could confirm that with Google Maps if you're interested in seeing that. And then, so in order to have our steps flush, he set the property back a little bit. So that's why there's a gap here.
Okay, do you have any other pictures you wanted to show us?
I have a ton of pictures. Is there anything in particular you would like to see, or?
How about the side of the house that is not developed? You just passed a picture of it.
Sure.
Can you zoom in a little bit to the stucco wall? And there's no cracking in that currently?
No. So, and the violation, I think, specifically states that it needs to be plumb and free of cracks, and there's no cracks anywhere on the property as far as structural cracks.
Okay. I'm ready to caucus if you want to caucus.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
All right, we're going to go into a breakout room. We will be back.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You can stop the recording.
Okay.
Hi, yeah, I think we're all back.
I'm recording again.
Yes, based on the evidence you've provided, we're going to grant your appeal. We're comfortable with this, and no further action is necessary on your part.
Thank you.
Good luck.
We're
Yes.
about to start.
Yeah, again, I'm Ted August. I'm a board member, and I am acting as chairman today.
Amy Rivera, board member.
John Dimes, Fire Code.
Ryan McSherry, Board Counsel.
Deborah Richardson, Boards Administration.
Philip Motto, Boards Administration.
Jay Scoria, Department of License and Inspections.
Hey, if you can each identify yourselves, so one at a time, I'll swear you in.
Sure, I'm Brett Madsen. Eric Madsen, the expediter and applicant for this project.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Next. I guess.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Behringer. I am a permit expediter as well with Brett.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's everybody for your group, or is that?
That is everybody for our group,
okay.
yes.
All right. So let's go ahead with this. And who's going to present the case?
No, Phil should read it in.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Not at all. This is case number 2 on today's list, MI 2023-004-537 for the property located at 1808 North 18th Street. The appellant is Eric Madsen, who's present in the room today.
Okay, Eric, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I am not muted. This is a case that has been going on for a while. It's an existing 3-unit that the owners wanted to rent out. They modified it in a way that it counts as an addition. They thought that they were simply rebuilding a projection, a bay window, and they actually demolished it first. Their contractors demolished it first and then rebuilt it. So because of that, it's treated differently. It now is an addition that had not been previously licensed for 3 units. So they had to increase their fire safety. So what we're proposing is to not install a sprinkler system throughout, but to keep egress wells and to apply fire rated materials to the existing corridors so that everything except the sprinkler system itself is up to the most stringent fire ratings.
Do you have drawings and photos you want to share and
Yes.
walk us through it?
Let me share the screen. Okay, can everybody see this screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is the latest submission. Previously, so you can basically follow the bubbles. This is what had to be changed. Previously, this enclosure was not properly rated. You can see that all through the corridor here, here, and here. There was also a egress well, new egress well proposed for the basement bedroom. Essentially, everything else has been laid out this way for some time. The big change that I mentioned, the bay window, is over here. This on the, I believe, 2nd floor, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. 2nd floor. And these are the new walls. It's very similar to the bay window that was there before, but the square footage is slightly different. That's the only change in floor area.
And that bay does not extend beyond the 3rd floor nor the 1st.
No, so this side where it says second floor plan is the front of the building. So this is actually within property lines. It's over a parking area.
But assuming all 3 floors are lined up, it looks like it does not
Yeah, no, Amy,
go out
there,
any further.
yeah, the plans aren't aligned, so that's.
So I didn't know if the front maybe doesn't align with the front.
No, it's that, no, Ted's correct. So we have the third floor
Okay.
here, right? You see the frontage? And
Okay.
it's
Yeah, dash in
dropped
on the
for
other
some
side.
reason. I didn't draw
Okay.
the plans, I'm sorry. And then raised back here, but the distances are all the same. They're just placed slightly differently. So it's also worth noting, I'm not sure if you have this in the records or if you're aware, because you see so many of these, but this was brought to you before. At that time, the architect had a note that it sort of allowed them to see if the assemblies were fire rated, and if not, cover them. And the Board of Building Standards requested that we make a determination, have an engineer look at it, determine whether or not the existing assemblies were 2-hour fire rated or whether they needed additional protection. And they definitely need additional protection. So that's changed from the last time this was presented. There will be 2-hour fire rated drywall installed all along the walls of the exit corridors.
Is,
So the refusal only says an existing fire area increased by the addition, which I believe is the bay. Shall
Yes,
comply
that's
with
correct.
Chapter 9 of the International Building Code.
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't
correct.
know that we're here to talk about egress wells.
yeah, I just want to
Um,
confirm with Jace.
Can
is
you
that-
show pictures of the bay before and after?
And Brett,
Yeah.
didn't you say that they didn't have a use permit for the 3-family dwelling before they did the demolition?
I have to look at the case. I think they had that in hand by the time of the demo, but they hadn't gotten authorization to do the actual construction work.
But it wasn't a legal 3-family dwelling then. That was what the case was, right? It wasn't a legal 3-family dwelling, and now you're trying to legalize it, correct?
Honestly, this one has been going on long enough that I forget. Let me look at our permit documents here, because
I mean, Jace, what I see, this refusal only says because of the addition.
It's not
And that
because,
it's an increase in the fire area because of the addition.
Yeah,
Not
I was,
because-
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we're not trying to legalize the
yeah, I was going by what
free
Brett was
use.
saying, but my system is back up and running, so I'm just gonna double check just to make sure
Okay.
it was okay.
and just a question, if you can multitask, Jace, is, would just, if this increased the fire area, would that require just the increased area to be sprinkled or the entire building?
If they don't separate it, then the whole building needs to be sprinkled.
Well, that's why I'm asking to see before, like maybe pictures from the backyard of the bay before it got torn down, and then the reconstructed bay.
And do we have
luckily
historic,
they
photos?
are easy to find on Atlas. So let me,
Of the rear?
yeah, actually, because there's an open area back here.
Oh, okay,
So you can see, yeah, so this is our 1808 right here.
okay.
Is what we're working with. And so if we jump back, so that's the reconstructed bay. If we drop
Right.
back to 2019. If it lets me.
So it was similar
see.
to the
Yeah, a
mirror
different bay.
house.
Yep, an old angled bay window.
Can you zoom in on this?
Yeah. Sorry, that's grainy, but it's one of the old style wooden bay windows here. And then what they changed to again is more of a box. So if we go to the latest, that's what's there now.
Oh, okay. The previous zoning permit says that the new bay window is actually larger than the previous one. That's what it says in the zoning.
Yeah. So it doesn't look like it, but it works out to a little bit more square footage. Yeah.
Yeah, does it project further, or is it the same projection? It's just that it's squared off, so it's a little more area.
It's squared off, so it's a little more area, and I think it might be slightly longer. I haven't looked at the zoning plans in a while. Sorry, I was prepping for the building portion here. I can pull those up if you want me to. I can look at the approved zoning plans we
It
have.
doesn't look like a very significant projection if it's not.
It's not. The changes in all dimensions were pretty minor.
And you reduced area on the first floor. You took off that shed off the back.
Yeah, that's correct. So now here's our first floor here.
There are previous permits on file saying there was a bump out on the third floor level. I'm guessing that scope was canceled and the new scope was just for the second floor. Correct? Brett?
Yeah, there's only a bump out on the second floor. There's no third floor bump out proposed here.
Yeah, it looks like it was previously issued out as a 3-family dwelling based on the previous zoning that was issued out in 2022. So all it is just for this little bump out on the second floor level. Technically, it's an addition, so that's how. That's the
Could we
reason.
talk this, or John Dimes, do you want to chime in anything?
No, so if I understand this correctly, so that bump out is the addition?
Yeah,
That's correct. Yes.
That small little bump out, that's what's triggering the sprinkler system?
yeah.
Yep.
And
That's
that
correct. Yes.
bump out replaced an existing bump out.
And this is an existing building and nothing else is being done, and they're proposing to add fire rating between units? Or
That's correct.
upstairs?
Yes.
On the corridors, yes.
And what's the square footage of that area?
Of the bump out itself, or
Yeah,
of the,
which is triggering the actual call for the sprinkler?
it is.
Square feet, huh?
It's out 28 square feet.
Yeah, 20, yeah.
24
Well,
maybe.
and John, what was there was a.
A window.
Bay.
Yeah,
No,
I
there was a
saw
window
it.
bay. And
Say
so
with the
overall,
truncated corners.
yeah, they've probably added, 5 square feet total.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't be adverse to anything the board wanted to do. I would be fine with it, given what it is, and it's an existing building, and it's such a small, I think it's negligible in the effect of the property as it currently is. It isn't like they're adding on a room or anything like that, so.
And I tend to agree that it's
I
really
would-
just
I-
replacing a bay.
Yeah, I would as well. I think it's, I'm comfortable with this.
But
Um,
grant variance. To relieve them from the sprinkler system for this small addition at the rear.
Right, and that's the only cited item, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, what happens is I think, we make the recommendation to the commissioner. And if he concurs, you should hear in a couple of weeks, get a decision letter. And the plan examiner will at the same time.
Okay, that sounds great.
Right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining early. I'm sorry. There was a
No.
confusion on time.
We joined late. It was not your fault. It was mine. So thank you for understanding.
That's okay. I just thought I'd remind you. So,
Okay. Do you need anything else from me and Patrick, or are you good to keep moving on?
I think we're all right.
All right, I will stop sharing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks again.
Do you wish a break in between cases, or would you like to go right to the next case?
Amy, I think we're fine to go to the next case.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still writing notes. But go ahead.
This is number 3 on today's list, MI 2023-004-893. This is for the property located at 1625 through 27 North Howard Street. The appellant is John Weckerly, and he is present in the room today.
Okay, I'm Ted August, board member and acting as chairman today.
Amy Rivera, board member.
John Dimes, Fire Code?
Ryan McSherry, Board Counsel.
Deborah Richardson, Boards Administration.
Philip Motto, Boards Administration.
Jay Scoria, Department of License and Inspections.
Okay, and John, why don't you go ahead and identify yourself?
Hi, everyone. John Weckerly, partner with Boxwood Architect.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And your colleague?
Yeah,
Hi, I'm Sal Guerrero, Boxwood Architect.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Sal, you should spell your last name for the court reporter.
Thank you.
Guerrero, Guerrero.
Okay, John, if you're gonna present the case,
Will, are we able to allow Sal to share his screen?
yes.
So Sal, can we start with the photos? So just wanted to start with some background information to show some existing conditions, photos of the property. This is a view, as many may know, this is it was originally a firehouse that has had a number of previous uses. Most recently, when we started working on the project, it was, I believe, zoned for assembly or restaurant use on the ground floor and was operating as a business on the second floor. So this is the view on the west side of what was the original access point, for the firehouse. Go ahead, Sal. This is the view on the inside looking west, so you can see the garage door that was in the previous photo off in the distance there. Kind of to the right of Sal, and behind him is the existing stair to the second floor. This is just the overall context image. Go ahead, Sal. And then this is a view on the second floor. Kind of once you come up the stairs, this view is actually looking east towards the more narrow portion of the existing structure. That red door at the end provides access to a stair, a spiral stair that gets you to the roof, but does not go down to the first floor, which we'll look at later in the plan. And then this is a view in the showing the basement and the existing stair that leads from the ground level to the basement level. Is that everything, Sal, on photo? And then this is a photo of the first floor stair that leads to the second floor, the existing condition. Go ahead, Sal. And then I'm sorry, this is that photo of the stair tower or spiral stair that leads to the roof that's in that kind of back corner on the second floor. And next, we'll look at the floor plans. The refusal and repeal is a bit of an overlapping request based on the unique shape of the existing structure led us to work to resolve the kind of how the customer and the operation would move through the space both vertically and horizontally, given the kind of unique shape of the building, as well as the location of the existing entry points to the building. The plan in front of us now is a plan of the proposed basement level. There is, as you can see here, annotate this, sorry. So this is the point with which you access the stair to go up to the first floor, which you'll see in a minute on the first floor. There is, for reference, there is an existing access point to a Bilco door on the basement level that is at the second location. There's also another Bilco door that lives behind this restroom that we're proposing there for reference. And then I believe, lastly, there was this well here that, over here in this corner was I believe it was like a coal chute or something to that effect that is existing in its condition and I believe floored over at the sidewalk level. So, okay, go ahead. And then just operate a little bit of operational information. Utility area in the lower left, where the utilities are being proposed either to come in or are existing. we're showing sewage ejector pit location as well as the Oilmatic fryer tank in that corner. Dish room directly above it for dishwashing. Immediately to the right, you can kind of see the main kitchen area where the hood would be located, along with refrigeration and prep area. And then in the upper left-hand corner would be a employee restroom, and then additional where the existing, I believe the existing electric panel is in that top northwest corner. Go ahead to the side.
What's the maximum number of people who would be working in here at any given
So
time?
we have on our permits that submitted, we have nine occupants in the basement as a maximum allowable. So moving to the first floor, you can see here that this is I had referenced where the basement starts in the basement going up. This is the access point to the basement from the first floor down. Then this is our proposed access point to the second floor in terms of the reconfigured stair to the second floor. The existing, if I can back up a moment, the existing stair has a number of non-conforming conditions. First, that it's a 14-foot floor-to-floor existing condition, and there's no landing in an intermediate landing for the existing run of treads and risers. And then secondly, the existing treads and risers are non-conforming with the 11 and 7. I believe they're 8 and 10 are the existing riser and tread distribution. There are also existing exits on the west side here and on the east side here. Why that keep cutting out? I'm sorry. On the east side here, we're proposing this one on the right where it says vestibule as our primary customer or patron ingress point, and that the one on the left side is a secondary exit that is existing to remain. And then you can see the garage door that had been there previously. We're proposing to keep as a architectural feature to the plan.
Are either of the entry doors accessible or both?
They are both accessible, I believe. Sal, confirm. Sal's saying we're making a modification to that vestibule door to make it accessible, but yes, they would both be threshold conditions.
Yeah.
Primary function on the ground floor is as you can see is a drinking bar and an oyster bar to the left of the drinking bar. ADA seating shown kind of above the oyster bar, to the left of the oyster bar, and then to the top right side of the general seating area there in the front end where the host is. There's an existing non-conforming restroom in that northwest corner that we're modifying a bit to make an ADA compliant restroom in that location. And then go ahead, Sal, to the second floor. And then on the second floor, as you can see, more, again, in looking at trying to accommodate how to create the proper amount of seating that did not over congest the space, while at the same time provide accommodation to successful count in terms of the operational goals of our client. You can see up here there's more of a dining experience with a smaller bar to serve as providing drinks to this level. Also, there are 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 bar stools at the bar up here. Also included a little lounge area there, kind of in the main center area of the space, and another ADA compliant restroom, again stacked above the existing or above the proposed location on the ground floor. So with that, and then one minor final thought, that this is the location of that existing doorway and stair to the roof from the second floor. as I mentioned it, you can get in there to get up, but it doesn't go down because that's over top of the vestibule at the ground floor level. Overall square footage of each footprint is 1,500 square feet of usable square footage for the basement, ground floor, and second level. Occupant load on the first floor is 59, and occupant load on the second floor is 71. We're requested, so the refusal is based on the fact that it's an interior. In essence, we're proposing to reconfigure the existing stair to create a from a ADA perspective or parameter perspective, a code compliant 7-inch rise, 11-inch tread, communicating stair, flip the other direction from the way that it is now to include a landing from the first floor to the second floor. The client's goal, as you can see, one of the reasons why we're in essence the language in the refusal is based on the stair being open from the basement first floor to second floor. As you can see in this area here, the goal for the client was that based on the fact that the kitchen lives in the basement, their operations is such that both culinary product and dirty dishes will kind of go from a vertical flow up and down through that location, which the hope was that could stay open in an effort to make that process more seamless in terms of employees passing, both coming up the steps and also going down the steps. Sal and I were discussing, would there be a opportunity to potentially have a door that was on a magnetic lock that was pinned to the fire alarm, to enclose that stair to the basement while at the same time allowing it to be open operationally, but would close if need be, to kind of create that condition where we no longer had an open stair from the basement to the third level, but rather a enclosed stair from the basement to the first level, aside from operationally the door being open, minus a life safety event where it would close automatically. As you can see from the shape of the building, our hope is to have this. And Sal, do you mind actually, if you guys are okay with it, just jump to the model for a real quick snapshot of the interior. This is the package that we presented to the client as we move through the design details. Frozen, Sal, or okay. So when you come into the space, you can see the space, relatively tight at the entrance point where you come in on the on the eastern side. Our proposal is to, in an effort to make the space inviting to the customer to know that there is a dining activity on the second floor, to have that open stair as a kind of architectural feature that provides connectivity between the first floor and the second floor. In plan view, the distance from the stair to that exit door is approximately 34 feet. So that's to the east side. It's a similar, it might be a little bit longer to get to that door that's on the western side. But for all intents and purposes, that it ends up kind of dumping down into the center of the first floor with opportunity to go either direction. And then on the second floor, if you go up, Sal, so the bathroom's there behind that tambour wall, and then come around, you see the bar, the smaller bar, and if you go south, can you go to the eastern edge and look back? Okay, just spin around there. And then you can see the kind of stair. Our hope was to avoid having that, fully enclosed in terms of it already being a small footprint, to avoid having the kind of like physical imposition of having that stair, be a rated enclosure there. So I don't know if that explains everything. Happy to answer questions.
Yeah, a couple of quick questions. Is the intent that the second floor will essentially be set up at the beginning of any meal service where you're not, running stuff up from the kitchen constantly, through the first floor, on that stair.
I mean, I could certainly ask our client what the operational game plan is for that. I would assume, yes, that they're going to make provisions to accommodate reducing the amount of, vertical travel from the basement to the second floor as possible. Meals, I'm sure that actual dishes that are ordered would need to travel, vertically, but if there are other opportunities to prep, I'm sure they would do so.
Yeah, and I see on the second floor, there's a lot of, ADA, elements, but there is no lift. Is there any plan or thought of ultimately doing that, or what's the thing?
I think the idea was that we would accommodate the elderly or the blind. That I think we're just showing the ADA seating for the purpose.
Yeah,
Well,
given the size of the
requirement on
space,
the ground floor.
Yeah, we have some.
yeah, and given the size of the space, our goal there was to really just show compliancy to the extent that we could in terms of number of seating on this floor and providing that accommodation for folks that it shows as a wheelchair, but with that, if there's a disability, that the accommodation is there to receive folks that might have other disabilities that need that real estate.
You have sidewalk on 3 sides of the building. Did you look into putting an exterior stair from the second floor?
We did not, no. Sal, go ahead.
Well, I was saying I mean, it's not part of our property, so I didn't know if that was allowed. I thought they were allowed in Philadelphia.
One of the refusals was that you don't have 2 exits. And
Right.
we've seen bar restaurants put an exterior stair off the second floor down onto the sidewalk, provided the sidewalk has enough clearance.
The sidewalks are fairly narrow. I don't think, we did not look at that from a zoning perspective. I think our hope was that given the size of the space and the proximity of the existing exits on the ground level relative to the occupant load of the second floor, that we could propose the variance. We did also talk about, if you go south to the ground floor, that if there was a scenario like we had mentioned before about enclosing this from the basement, it doesn't necessarily help from the second floor, but we talked about, is there a potential you could make this an exterior door so that there was direct access from the basement to the exterior. But yes, that doesn't affect the second to first floor condition. We did look at trying to introduce a second stair, but you can appreciate, given the trapezoidal shape of the building, it didn't lend itself to, and the fact that it's a 14-foot floor to floor condition, the real estate that it would take to create a second stair would render the rest of the plan in large part unusable.
I think what you're suggesting in terms of creating a door at the top of the basement stair is something that I think we would want to do. And John, you may want to weigh in on that in terms of connecting 3 stories versus connecting, limiting that to 2 connected floors. Is that something, it's more an issue of smoke than of the enclosure itself?
I mean, his proposal to put a maglock door on the basement to the first floor is good to solve that problem, and having a door right there would reduce, I guess, the egress length from the basement. My concern is also the second floor. I mean, and having an open stair, people sitting in the back, no other way out. I mean, you really got to walk through the upstairs, even though it's not a big footprint area. I mean, what you're trying to do is, in my opinion, is create a nice flow in a relatively small space by leaving things open, but that also leaves the potential for fire and smoke flow in the event there is something that's going on. So hence the reason for the code. And I understand their challenge of acquiring a space like this and trying to make it work for a restaurant, but I don't feel great about giving a variance based on the building just doesn't work for a restaurant, so let us get a variance because there's nothing really being proposed with regard to, I would say, equal to a better type of situation, or it was written in error or anything like that. It's more of, we're in a tough situation. So I don't specifically, I think there's a risk on the second floor. I think some of the proposals for the first floor may work.
In terms of the second floor, one question, there's the existing stair up to the roof. Is the intent to use the roof as any kind of deck space? And is that, I don't see you showing that now, but is that something that's contemplated in the future?
It's not something that we discussed in terms of the program connected to this project. I'd need to ask them if that's something they were looking to pursue down the line. But I would, their primary objective is, the hopeful goal of getting what's in front of us accomplished. And if there was some need to limit that roof access, I'm sure they, would be okay with that relative to, the existing proposal that's in place. I was really just, it's unfortunate that it's directly over the vestibule and, otherwise, it could serve as a non-conforming existing condition to the ground floor. I appreciate everything the fire marshal communicated, and I do think that it's not a huge win, but it is beneficial that stair is there to provide access to the roof in the case of an emergency. Not that that's ideal either. I understand.
Well, that was something I was going to ask, is whether it's practical to have sort of an area of refuge, at that narrow end of the roof that, in an emergency, somebody could be up there to be rescued. You do have access from, both sides, for fire equipment to get there. And, John, I don't know whether that's a practical, that helps, or it's just.
That's a tough set of steps, though, for people to get up.
No, I understand.
That's why I was reluctant and
Yeah.
hesitant to comment on. I appreciate all of that and understand that it's in an emergency situation at best, in terms of access. It is there. We're not proposing to, remove it or make it unavailable, aside from to say that it does provide access to the roof.
So I'm thinking the fire is most likely going to start in the kitchen. Could we put a fire rated partition and door in the basement to enclose the basement and separate it? It looks like the basement is concrete construction.
Yes, and
So the first floor is concrete.
I didn't comment on it, but if the idea of the door at the first floor was something that was desirable, I was also thinking that at that point, if you go down south, that we would do the same in the basement, where this would become a enclosure here, with a door.
Right. That could be on a hold open. It could be
so
left open.
that entire basement to first floor would be a completely separate condition. And yes, the floor is a concrete assembly. You can see the structure there in the photo.
Yeah, it looks like it's steel beams
encased in concrete. Yeah.
So
yes, I'm sorry, I didn't comment on it, but if that idea of making the exit directly from the basement to the exterior on the first floor was desirable, then yes, we would enclose the stair entirely, which would then eliminate that notion of the one refusal point is that it's a three floor open stair. If we enclosed entirely the basement to first floor, then we're really just talking about the communicating stair between the first floor and second floor as being open.
All right. Ted, do you want to caucus?
Yeah, and I did just one last question for John. If you go to the second floor plan for a sec, I understand the objective in terms of keeping that stair as open as possible and feel of that floor. Would there be any, benefit in any kind of glass valance or whatever in terms of smoke migration to the stair, in terms of enclosing that, and and a variation on that is if it was a glass enclosure, essentially, with again a hold open door, does that help even more, or are any of those things just not going far enough to separate that floor?
Well, if you're talking about egress on the second floor, I mean, you still have a travel distance from sitting on the back of the second floor. I mean, there's no way to get out. So yeah, I mean, if you still got to walk down the steps and you're walking into a smoky environment because there's no other way out the second floor, I don't know if that helps so much. I mean, we can always do a couple different scenarios or an infinite amount of scenarios of what could happen and what ifs, but yeah, I think there's an issue that they have to overcome by finding a second way out if the conditions on the first floor, understanding that the potential for the fire is greatest in the basement, and we're trying to isolate that as much as we can.
Right.
I don't know what you just proposed helps that much with regard to getting out of the building. It might help temporarily with maybe some transfer of smoke, like it has a chimney effect there. It might give people some more time, especially if you decide to use the roof, which I again, just my personal experience when I was on the truck. I mean, I've been on some roofs. You'd be amazed how quick and fast those roofs get smoky, and it's not very tenable. And again, time frame for the fire department to get there. It's an area of refuge, but it's a time thing. It's not. I guess that's why the code is what it is. You need that second way out. But no, I guess when I'm at my long story short, I would say that doesn't alleviate the second way out.
And what's the height, John, of the parapet at the roof there from the sidewalk? Any idea?
Can you give me that, Sal? We don't have that in section.
I guess I could talk to the board while they're looking for that. I'm not sure, John Wackerly, I don't know whether you talked to Fred about this or not, but when you said the previous use was a restaurant on the first floor level and a business use on the second, when we were looking in the history, there's only a zoning permit obtained, but no building permit obtained for that. So so we're back to the last legal use. So it was either a single family dwelling back in 1986 or a firehouse back in 1953. So it would be a complete change in occupancy for this building, unless they got building permits that didn't show up in our system. We looked at different addresses because this kind of fronts 3 streets, so we thought it would be under a different address, but when we looked at it, we didn't find any other building permit besides that zoning permit. So the last legal use was most likely a single family dwelling or a firehouse. So
interesting. Yeah, that my comment was based on a conversation I had with the previous owner when our client was in the process of transitioning to the ownership.
A zoning permit was obtained, but zoning permit really isn't anything until you actually get a building permit and a CO part of it. So
understood.
Just want to look at the board.
Understood. Did you get that height approximately? No, I think what Ted is asking is the height from the sidewalk to the parapet or to the roof.
Yeah, from one of your photos, you probably approximate it.
So just to recap while they're looking at that, so they need 2 exits from the second floor level. One of the exits have to go directly to the exterior, and like I said, the 2 exits. And the way we review that is because it's a complete change of occupancy from Chapter 10 of the IABC.
And we're assuming that this is covering essentially 100% of the lot. I mean, other than a little bit at the vestibule, is that
at the tip, right?
Yeah, I think there's like a very small patch of grass on the east side there that's like maybe 6x7 or something after that. Yeah, it goes to a point or something like that. But otherwise, it's full lot coverage. 31 feet 4 from the parapet to the sidewalk, plus or minus an inch or so.
Ted, you want to call this?
Sure. We will be back.
You can stop recording and we'll be back.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this and we are concerned about not having a second means of egress on the upper floors. I think we're comfortable with having the enclosure that we discussed on the basement floor, isolating the stair from the rest of the basement. That can be on a hold open. We would want to see some kind of a smoke shelf on the ground floor at the stair to minimize smoke migration. So that would sort of be around the stair so that smoke would be limited in terms of going up the stair to the second floor somewhat. And we think there needs to be a stair, an exterior egress stair, non-combustible, leading from the second floor to the sidewalk. We took a look and there's like 13, almost 14 feet. I'm sorry, almost 13 feet, a little over 12 on the, I believe it's Turner Street side, where, and I'm not, you have to look at where best to do it. Most likely the area where that round table sits, the window out there, going out and then leading down. Actually on the other side, Amy.
No, that was me drawing. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, either
Or on the downside, sorry.
yeah, I believe that's Turner is that side, correct? And Cecil B. Moore is the
Oh yeah, you're right. Cecil B. Moore is the angle.
yeah, so it's basically there. We talked about whether that might be something that could be fixed at the second floor, but lowered to the ground floor. And we really feel it needs to be you're not allowed to do a fire escape, but you are allowed to do a exit, exterior non-combustible exit stair. And that seemed to be the logical place that might happen.
Understood.
Be 3 foot wide, I believe, Jace, is that the required width of a would be needed?
Yep, it'll be 3 feet, but then I would just look at the code section for exterior stairways. You'd also need to get a variance because of the proximity of lot line location. So I think that would be a variance given by the board.
The fact that it's actually, well, it's over the lot line, that's the question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just need to get streets department approval for that.
Yeah, and between the kind of walking zone and building zone, I mean, this may fall at, it said 12.75 is what Atlas said, so it leaves 9 to 10 feet there. There are trees. That's something to take a look at, how best to make that work. I think you would have sufficient walking zone, possibly even with the trees, but you'd have to take a look at that.
But we feel that leaves the inside of the restaurant as the owner would like it, as much as we can.
Yeah, and I think that the walking zone issue really only happens, for the first maybe 8 to 10 feet of the stair, because then beyond that you're higher and you would go back to that 12'9". I mean, I know Streets wants to see the 5 foot contiguous. You used to be able to kind of snake around the trees and stuff, but now they want it to go straight through. Well, you guys were off. We talked about and I know that I understand everything you just said. We talked about, could you look at introducing, have the entrance on the ground floor here, and then make the spiral stair that's in the existing tower go down instead of up to the first floor. But I appreciate what per what the fire marshal said, that's a cumbersome exercise to try to get down in a hurry.
Yeah, I wondered about that, but I think I don't think it's satisfactory enough.
Understood.
And in terms of the vestibule, I think serves you well coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this case, I mean, we took a quick look at, looking at the trees there. You'll have to take a look. I'm pretty confident that the walking zone called for on this particular, street on Turner Street is probably you're close to it as long as the trees don't come into play. And that's,
Does the fire department have any comments on what we're proposing?
No, I mean, I think it would, I think it's fine. I think you need that second exterior stair, and all the other provisos seem to make it, safe as it can be, and basically the code.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Could you explain the next steps in terms of, I certainly will relay all this back to our client. I guess, could you just explain what will happen next in terms of your response?
Was just about to, and that we make a recommendation to the commissioner. It's he will obviously have to make a final determination, but there would be a letter to your client and or whoever the applicant was, and the plans examiner, probably a couple of weeks, I would think, and that will sort of lay out what's being required.
So I'm sorry. So the recommendation is made, and then the letter comes from the commissioner's office?
Yes. Yeah. So when you get that, the plans examiner will get it concurrently. So, you would then submit plans that meet what's being required, to satisfy the variance.
Got it.
And
I mean, do you want to, it's gonna be, so if they grant this variance, it'll be with the following provisos. It'll be the exterior stair, it will be the 1 hour exit enclosure, all other requirements that make it applicable for code. But do you want to go to your client and ask them and come back, or you want to just get this rejected and just start over? That's
so there's an option to get the variance approved with those 3 provisos. Is that, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Is there a way that I could just take a half an hour to ask him if he's okay with those 3 provisos and then let you know to process it, or do I need to say that now?
Oh, you're talking about ask your client.
Yeah, I
Not
assume
asking the
he's going to say
commissioner.
yes, but I just want to, I don't want to like spend his money, without having that clarity.
Sure, but I guess we would still make that same recommendation unless you wanted this to be continued until the next hearing, and then we basically administratively, you notify Debbie, and Phil that this is we're going to go that route. We would then
Yeah, let's proceed with that approval with the provisos. I'm going to hang up when we hang up and call the client immediately. I'll go through it if there's some negative reaction based on the hardship side of doing those 3 provisos, which I don't anticipate, but I don't want to speak for him. Then I will immediately reach out to Deborah and Phil.
Well, we're going to be doing the paperwork on 2 other cases in a few minutes. You'll be the 3rd one. And so if you get back to her in the next 10 minutes, there's a good chance that, you can tell us proceed.
Yep. Okay. From what John said, though, we should just write the.
Yeah, that's right. Let's assume we're writing it with the, the variance with the provisos, and then if Deborah, I'll shoot you an email one way or the other in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, I don't think Deborah.
Send it to Phil as well, because I'm getting ready to leave.
Understood.
And I'll see it tomorrow, but I won't see it now.
Understood.
Right. So, okay.
Just one comment, John. The location where you kind of sketched that reflects our thinking in terms of being as remote as possible from the other stair, especially because the other stair is not fully compliant stair, anyhow.
Agreed. I agree with that in terms of proximity, keep the, having, if there's something happening on that end, then you still have the opportunity to go to the other end of the building and get down that stair. Whereas if they were stacked closer together, it doesn't make it ideal. So we'll look at that, on that side, and the alternate would be on the Cecil B. Moore side, but we'll look at Turner for first and foremost.
Okay.
Really appreciate everybody's time and information and insight. Thank you very much.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.